First contact and fear. The Galactic Federation's Deep Space Monitoring Station DS-742 had been silent for decades. Located on the outer rim of explored space, it was considered an undesirable posting by most of the Federation's personnel. But today, the station's warning systems blared to life, sending its skeleton crew scrambling to their stations. Admiral Zextal, a veteran Arctian with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes, stood before the station's main display. His auxiliary arms twitched nervously as data streamed across the screen. "Report," he commanded, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native tongue into standard Federation speech. "Sir, we're detecting an unknown vessel emerging from the void belt," Lieutenant Krisha announced, her feathered crest rising in alarm. "It's massive, nearly 3 kilometers in length." The Admiral's scales shifted from their usual pale blue to a deeper shade of concern. The void belt was a region of space that had claimed countless ships over the centuries, a graveyard of twisted metal and frozen dreams. Nothing had ever emerged from it intact. Until now. The vessel that appeared on their screens defied conventional Federation ship design. Its hull was angular and aggressive, covered in what appeared to be heavy armor plating. Multiple weapon ports lined its sides, and its bow featured what could only be described as a massive cannon. "Classification," Zextal demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our database has no matches." But based on its configuration, Krisha hesitated. "It appears to be a warship of tremendous power." The Admiral's auxiliary arms reached for his command console, initiating emergency protocols. "Alert Central Command. Begin evacuation procedures for the nearby colonies. Whatever this thing is, we can't risk." "Sir," Krisha interrupted, her voice trembling. "We're detecting signs of life aboard, and energy readings are increasing." The mysterious vessel's exterior lighting suddenly activated, illuminating markings along its hull. The Federation's universal translators worked frantically to decode the alien script. UNSS HFY. Earth Defense Force. Earth. Zextal whispered the unfamiliar word. "Search the archives. Now." The station's AI compiled what little information existed about Earth in mere seconds. The results sent chills through the Admiral's body. Earth was a legend, a story told in the darkest corners of space stations and colony bars. A planet of warriors who had achieved spaceflight just as their world was dying, forcing them to scatter across the stars in massive ships. But they were supposed to be myths, stories to frighten young cadets. The Hyperion's engines flared to life, pushing the massive vessel forward with surprising grace for its size. More systems activated across its hull, and the Federation sensors struggled to analyze the unknown technology. "Sir, they're broadcasting," Krisha reported. "Audio only, in thousands of languages simultaneously." "Play it," Zextal ordered, bracing himself. A calm, measured voice filled the command center. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations, Starship Hyperion. We are survivors of Earth, seeking new worlds to call home. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. Please respond." The message repeated in various languages, each version precise and clear. Zextal's mind raced with the implications. If this ship was truly from Earth, and if the legends were even partially true. "Sir," Krisha prompted, "should we respond?" The Admiral studied the massive vessel. Its weapon ports remained closed, but the sheer size of its main cannon suggested power beyond anything in the Federation's arsenal. If they responded wrong, if they provoked these humans, open a channel, he decided. But alert our defense fleet. Have them maintain distance but ready for anything. He straightened his posture, attempting to project confidence he didn't feel. "This is Admiral Zextal of the Galactic Federation. Your arrival is unexpected." "Admiral," Captain Chen's voice returned, now speaking only in Federation standard. "We've been traveling for a very long time. Our ship's AI detected your station, and suggested we make contact rather than simply passing through. Your ship is. Zextal searched for diplomatic phrasing. Impressive. We've never encountered its like. A slight pause. The Hyperion is one of Earth's colony ships, Admiral. Built to protect our people as we searched for new homes. We had to be prepared for anything the void might throw at us. Krish's sensors beeped urgently. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy readings from their ship. Some kind of. Sir, they have enough power generation to level a continent. Zextal's scales paled further. Captain Chen, you understand that your vessel's capabilities are concerning to us. The Federation has protocols for first contact scenarios, but your ship is a warship. Chen finished for him. Yes, Earth learned the hard way that the universe isn't always friendly. But Admiral, we've spent centuries searching for others to call neighbors, not enemies. The weapons you see are shields for our people, not swords for conquest. The Admiral's auxiliary arms twitched again as he considered the situation. The humans possess technology that could easily overwhelm Federation defenses, yet they chose to announce themselves peacefully. Either they were incredibly confident or genuinely peaceful. Neither option was particularly comforting. Perhaps, Zextal suggested carefully, we should arrange a face-to-face meeting to discuss your arrival in Federation space properly. We would welcome that, Admiral, Chen replied. Though I should warn you, humans can look quite different from what you might expect. We wouldn't want to cause alarm. Before Zextal could respond, Krish's console erupted with new alerts. Sir, multiple ships emerging from the void belt. Same design as the Hyperion, but smaller. A fleet. The Admiral watched in growing alarm as dozens of vessels appeared on their screens, each still larger than the Federation's biggest ships. They moved with precision, taking up escort positions around the Hyperion. My apologies, Admiral. Chen's voice returned, still calm but with an edge of steel beneath the courtesy. I should have mentioned. The Hyperion never travels alone. We've learned that lesson too. Zextal stared at the assembled fleet, his mind racing. The legends of Earth spoke of warriors who had faced extinction and emerged stronger, who had turned their ingenuity toward survival at any cost. The ships before him were proof that at least some of those stories were true. The question was, which ones? Captain Chen, he said finally, I believe we have much to discuss, and I suspect the Federation's protocols for first contact may need revision. A soft chuckle came through the comm. Admiral, I think this is the beginning of a very interesting relationship. As the human fleet held position, waiting for his response, Admiral Zextal couldn't help but wonder if the universe had just become a much more complicated place, or a much more interesting one. The fate of that answer, he realized, might depend entirely on what happened next. The Ghost Fleet awakens. The Federation Council chamber erupted in chaos as Admiral Zextal's report concluded. Representatives from 100 worlds shouted over each other, their various translators creating a cacophony of worried voices. High Counselor Venra, an ancient meridian whose crystalline body refracted light in agitated patterns, raised all four hands for silence. Order. We must maintain order. The chamber gradually quieted, though tension remained thick in the air. Venra's crystal facets turned toward Admiral Zextal. Let me understand this clearly. These, humans, possess technology that surpasses our own by centuries. By conservative estimates, Zextal confirmed, the energy readings from their smallest support vessel exceed our largest battlecruiser. And their main ship, the Hyperion. He paused, his scales shifting uncomfortably. It's beyond anything we theorized possible. Yet they claim to come in peace, a Valoran representative scoffed, her fur bristling, with weapons that could destroy worlds. The humans say they built for defense, not conquest, Zextal responded. Their captain speaks of centuries spent searching, of losing their homeworld. Convenient stories. The Valoran interrupted. They appear from the Void Belt with a fleet of superweapons, and we're to believe they're peaceful refugees. On the massive screen dominating the chamber wall, the human fleet hung in space like a collection of angular predators. The Hyperion dwarfed its escorts, yet all shared the same aggressive design philosophy. Federation analysts had identified what appeared to be point defense systems, missile launchers, and energy weapon emplacements covering every surface. The question, Venra's crystalline voice cut through the renewed murmuring, is what we do about them. In the observation lounge above the council chamber, Captain Sarah Chen watched the proceedings with carefully controlled expression. Her dark eyes reflected the tactical displays showing both fleets' positions, while her short silver hair caught the artificial light. Despite her apparent calm, her fingers drummed quietly on the railing. "They're afraid of us," observed Commander James Rodriguez, her first officer. The tall man's brown skin was creased with concern as he studied the alien council below. "Can't entirely blame them. We did show up with enough firepower to level a solar system." "We had to," Chen replied softly. "After what happened at New Eden." She left the sentence unfinished. Everyone aboard the Hyperion knew that story. How a seemingly uninhabited system had nearly spelled doom for one of Earth's first colonies. Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Still, maybe we should power down some systems. Show good faith." "No." Chen's response was immediate. "We protect our people. Always." She touched the medallion at her throat, a gesture Rodriguez recognized. It contained a hologram of Earth, their lost cradle of humanity. "We can be diplomatic, but we won't be vulnerable. Not again." Below, the council's debate had taken an ominous turn. "We should strike now," the Valoran representative was saying, "before they can bring more ships through the void belt. Their technology may be superior, but we have numbers. And risk interstellar war with an unknown power." Zextal interrupted. "We don't even know the extent of their capabilities." Then perhaps, a new voice suggested smoothly, "We should find out." All eyes turned to Counselor Dax, a shadowkin whose dark form seemed to absorb light. His species was known for subtle manipulation and careful planning. The humans claimed their ship emerged from the void belt. Surely there must be more of their vessels there, lost over the centuries of their supposed wandering. Understanding rippled through the chamber. The void belt had claimed countless ships over the millennia. If human vessels were there, a salvage mission, Dax continued. To verify their claims, of course. And if we happen to learn more about their technology in the process. In the observation lounge, Chen's fingers stopped their drumming. "They're going to try to salvage our dead," she said quietly. Her voice carried centuries of cultural weight. In the exodus from Earth, every lost ship represented thousands of lives, generations of hopes frozen in the void. "Captain," Rodriguez started, "if they find the Artemis." "They won't just find a derelict," Chen finished. "They'll wake her up." The Artemis had been one of the first colony ships, lost in the void belt centuries ago. Like all Earth vessels, it carried automated defense systems designed to protect its sleeping cargo even if the crew perished. Systems that would interpret any unauthorized salvage attempt as hostile action. Below, the council was voting. The salvage mission was approved overwhelmingly. Despite Sextal's protests, a Federation recovery fleet would depart within hours. "Should we warn them?" Rodriguez asked. Chen watched the aliens celebrating their decision, seeing not malice but fear driving their choices. Fear of the unknown, of change, of powers beyond their understanding. The same fears that had once driven humanity to build ships like the Hyperion. "No," she decided. "Sometimes the only way to understand is to learn firsthand." She straightened, tugging her uniform jacket into perfect alignment. "Alert the fleet. When the Artemis wakes up, things will get interesting." The Federation's salvage fleet departed 12 hours later, 15 ships strong, equipped with the best recovery technology available. They entered the void belt confident in their superior numbers and experience. They had no way of knowing they were being washed. Deep in the twisted wreckage that gave the void belt its reputation, ancient systems stirred to life. The Artemis, a massive colony ship that had drifted for centuries, began its awakening protocols. Its AI, designed to protect its cargo at all costs, assessed the approaching vessels. Classification: unknown. Intent: salvage/hostile. Response protocol activated. Around the seemingly derelict ship, defense platforms that had laid dormant for hundreds of years powered up. Automated repair systems that had worked silently for centuries completed their tasks. The Artemis had never died. It had simply been waiting. As the Federation fleet approached what they thought was a lucky find, the ghost of humanity's past prepared to remind the galaxy why Earth's children had survived when so many others had fallen to the void. The lesson was about to begin. The awakening storm. Recovery Team Leader Daxril checked his instruments for the third time as his fleet approached the derelict human vessel. The Artemis hung in space like a sleeping giant, its dark hull absorbing sensor scans as if hungry for them. Beginning approach pattern Delta, he announced to the fleet. Remember, we're looking for any technological data we can salvage. The Council wants to know exactly what we're dealing with. The massive colony ship dwarfed their salvage vessels. Unlike the aggressive angles of the Hyperion, the Artemis had a more organic design. Smooth curves punctuated by what appeared to be massive garden domes, now dark with centuries of accumulated space dust. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting unusual power fluctuations from the wreck." Daxril's antenna twitched. Impossible. Nothing could still be powered after all this time in the void belt. But the readings were clear and growing stronger. Aboard the Hyperion, Captain Chen watched the feed from their long-range sensors. The Federation salvage fleet had no idea they were being monitored. She saw them deploying their recovery drones, preparing to breach the Artemis's hull. "They're about to make first contact with our automation protocols," Rodriguez observed. "Should be educational." Chen nodded silently. The Artemis had been their first true colony ship, built when humanity still remembered the bitter lessons of their exodus from Earth. Its defense systems were arguably more paranoid than modern vessels. The first Federation drone touched the Artemis's hull. Deep within the ancient ship, circuits that had waited centuries activated. The AI core, never truly dormant, initiated its primary directive: protect the sleepers. On the salvage fleet's screens, the dead ship suddenly blazed with energy signatures. Points of light appeared along its hull as defense turrets emerged from concealed housings. The garden domes split apart, revealing missile batteries that had waited generations to serve their purpose. "By the void," Daxril whispered. "It's alive." The Artemis' first response was almost gentle, a focused EMP pulse that disabled the nearby drones without harming the Federation ships. A warning, delivered in the universal language of force. The salvage fleet reacted with panic, ships scattering in different directions. But the Artemis had no intention of letting potential threats escape. Force fields sprang to life, creating a containment sphere around the entire area. "We're trapped," Daxril's tactical officer shouted. "The energy readings, they're beyond anything in our database." The Artemis's external speakers activated, broadcasting in Federation standard. "Unovidor, alright. DT. CLVG DETCTED. Initiating defense protocols. Surrender and YITHDRL, or face destruction." The mechanical voice echoed through every ship's comm system. It spoke with the weight of centuries, the accumulated determination of a species that had refused to die when their world burned. "This is Recovery Team Leader Daxril," he transmitted frantically. "We mean no harm. We are a peaceful salvage operation." "Falsehud DETCTED," the Artemis interrupted. "SCANing and ICAT's military-grade analysis equipment. Antient, hostile technological acquisition. Final warning." On the Hyperion, Rodriguez whistled softly. The old girl's gotten cranky in her sleep. The Artemis was built during the Exodus. Chen reminded him. When we couldn't afford to take chances, she watched as the Federation ships tried unsuccessfully to breach the containment field. Their shields won't help them if she decides they're a threat. Should we intervene? Captain, Rodriguez said carefully, this might be the lesson they need. To understand why we built our ships this way. Chen considered. The Artemis wouldn't destroy the salvage fleet without extreme provocation. Its programming prioritized minimal force when possible. But it would certainly demonstrate why humanity's technology wasn't to be trifled with. Aboard the lead salvage vessel, Daxril was reaching the same conclusion. All ships, power-down weapons, show were not hostile. But it was too late. The Artemis had detected their military scanning equipment, their attempts to breach its security, and their failed effort to escape. Its response protocols were clear. Dozens of smaller craft emerged from the colony ship's hangars, automated defenders that had waited centuries for this moment. They moved with perfect coordination, herding the Federation ships into a tight cluster. Resistance noted. Initiating containment procedures. The defenders opened fire, not with lethal weapons, but with highly focused tractor beams. One by one, they captured the Federation ships, holding them immobile. This is impossible, Daxril whispered. The power required to hold 15 ships at once. The Artemis's next broadcast carried a hint of what might have been satisfaction. Targetes is SECURET. Beginning in URL network interface. Downloading Federation Historical Database. To their horror, the salvage fleet crews realized the Artemis wasn't just restraining them. It was accessing their computers, absorbing centuries of Federation knowledge in minutes. Analysis complete. Federation Territorial CLAM noted. Updating protocols. The automated defenders suddenly released their ships. The containment field dropped. The Artemis's weapons retracted, though everyone knew they could redeploy in seconds. Salvage operation TRMINATED. T-part IMEMBDA Eloi. Further ATEM pieces will be met with lethal force. As the Federation fleet retreated in disarray, the Artemis sent one final message, not to them, but to the Hyperion. Greetings, sister ship. The Sully PRS remained secure. Awakening Purotociol INITIAT as planned. Chen's eyes widened. The colonists, they're still alive. After all this time. Rodriguez checked the data streaming from the Artemis. Cryopods showing green across the board. Looks like our ancestors built better than they knew. Send word to the fleet, Chen ordered. We're going to have company soon. She smiled slightly. And I believe the Federation Council will have some interesting discussions about their salvage policies. In the void of space, the Artemis's garden domes began to light up, one by one. Soon, thousands of colonists would wake to a very different galaxy than the one they had left behind. The real first contact was about to begin. Diplomatic evolution. The Federation Council chamber had never been so quiet. Admiral Zextol's report on the Artemis incident left the assembled representatives in stunned silence. The holoprojection showed the ancient human vessel now fully awakened, its systems humming with power that shouldn't exist after centuries adrift. Let me be clear, High Counselor Venera said finally, crystalline form pulsing with agitation. A single derelict human ship, supposedly abandoned for centuries, defeated our entire salvage fleet without causing a single casualty. Defeated isn't the word I'd use, Zextol replied carefully. It educated us. The chamber's doors slid open, and Captain Chen entered with Commander Rodriguez. The council had requested their presence after the incident, though many representatives shifted uncomfortably at the human's arrival. Perhaps, Chen suggested, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. It's time we had an honest discussion about why our ships are built the way they are. Venera's crystal facets rotated toward her. You claim to come in peace, yet your abandoned vessels carry weapons that could devastate worlds. Because we learned the hard way that peace must be protected. Chen activated a small holoprojector of her own. The image of Earth appeared, not the vibrant blue world of human history, but the dying planet they had left behind. When our world began to fail, we had to leave. Not just a few thousand people, but billions. We built the colony ships as arks, each carrying hundreds of thousands in cryosleep. Her eyes swept the chamber. Do you know what it's like to be responsible for that many sleeping souls, knowing that one mistake means genocide? The council members stirred uneasily. Chen continued, her voice soft but intense. The Artemis wasn't defending itself today. It was defending 50,000 colonists who still sleep in its cryopods. People who trusted their descendants to keep them safe until they could find a new home. Impossible, a Valoran representative interrupted. No cryogenic system could maintain stability for centuries. Rodriguez stepped forward, holding up a data crystal. The Artemis just transmitted its full status. Every pod is functioning perfectly. Our ancestors built things to last. The implications slowly sank in. The humans hadn't just created powerful warships. They had mastered technologies the Federation had deemed impossible. Long-term cryogenics, self-repairing systems, artificial intelligence sophisticated enough to protect its charges for centuries. The Artemis will begin waking its colonists soon, Chen announced. People who went to sleep when humanity was still learning to reach for the stars. They'll need a place to call home. You expect us to simply give you territory. The Valoran's fur bristled. After your ship attacked our fleet. Defended itself, Chen corrected firmly. And no, we don't expect charity. We're offering an exchange. She gestured, and her holoprojector displayed technical schematics. The Artemis databanks contain technologies we developed centuries ago. Innovations in agriculture, medicine, renewable energy. Things that could benefit everyone. We're willing to share. The council chamber erupted in excited whispers. Even the most hostile representatives couldn't hide their interest in the scrolling technical data. This is what we've always wanted, Chen continued. Not conquest, not dominion, but cooperation. A chance to be part of something greater than ourselves. High Counselor Venera studied her with all his sensory facets. And if we refuse, if we decide your ships are too dangerous to allow in our space, then we'll leave, Chen said simply. Take our people and our knowledge elsewhere. But I don't think that's what anyone here truly wants. Admiral Zextel stepped forward. Counselors, I've seen the humans' power firsthand, both their strength and their restraint. The Artemis could have destroyed our fleet today. Instead, it chose to teach us a lesson about assumptions, a lesson some of us needed, Rodriguez added quietly, glancing at certain representatives who had advocated for attacking the human fleet. Venera's crystalline form shimmered as he considered. You speak of cooperation, Captain Chen, yet your ships bristle with weapons beyond our comprehension. Because the galaxy is vast and often dangerous, Chen replied. We learned that protecting people sometimes means being ready for conflict while working for peace. She walked to the chamber's central platform, her uniform catching the light. The Artemis carries more than just colonists. It carries humanity's history, our art, our music, our dreams. Everything that makes us who we are. We protected it all this time because we believe in a future worth preserving. The chamber was silent again, but different now. The fear was still there, but mixed with something else. Curiosity, hope, the possibility of change. Perhaps, Venera said finally, we should begin discussing the practical aspects of integrating your colonists into Federation space, and the details of this technological exchange. Chen smiled. I think that's a wonderful place to start. She turned to Rodriguez. Commander, please inform the Hyperion to begin preparation for the Artemis's awakening sequence. It's time to welcome our ancestors to their new home. As the council dissolved into excited discussion of committees and procedures, Chen caught Zextel's eye. The Admiral's scales had shifted to a color she hadn't seen before. It's appreciation, he explained, noting her interest. We feared you because we didn't understand. But perhaps that was our limitation, not yours. Outside the council chamber, the Artemis continued its preparations. Soon, its colonists would wake to a galaxy very different from the one they had left, but one where humanity had already begun building bridges instead of walls. The real work was just beginning. Legacy of the stars. The observation deck of the Artemis was filled with light for the first time in centuries. Captain Chen stood beside Dr. Elena Santos, the newly awakened chief medical officer of the colony ship, watching as more cryopods gradually came online. 300 years, Santos whispered, her accent thick with emotion. We slept for 300 years. She pressed her hand against the transparent barrier, watching as her fellow colonists began to stir. When we left Earth, we didn't know if anyone would survive. You did more than survive, Chen replied softly. You gave us a foundation to build on. Every ship we've built since carries a piece of the Artemis's design. Below them, Federation medical teams worked alongside human doctors, helping evaluate the awakened colonists. The sight would have been unimaginable just weeks ago. Aliens and humans working together to preserve life rather than prepare for war. Commander Rodriguez entered the observation deck, his tablet displaying streams of data. Captain, the Federation Council's Integration Committee has approved the colonists' settlement plan. They're offering 3 systems along the Void Belt border. Strategic locations, Chen noted. They're still nervous about our capabilities. Can you blame them? Santos asked, turning from the window. I've seen the specs of modern ships like your Hyperion. We built the Artemis to protect our people, but you've created vessels that could reshape solar systems. Because we remembered the lessons you taught us, Chen responded. The Artemis showed us that survival isn't just about power, it's about persistence, about building things to last. The ship's intercom activated with a soft chime. Captain Chen, this is High Counselor Venra. The first technology exchange briefing is ready to begin. Chen nodded to her officers. Duty calls. Doctor, would you like to join us? Show the Federation what human medicine looked like 3 centuries ago. Santos smiled. They might be surprised. We were quite innovative when our backs were against the wall. The briefing chamber was packed with Federation scientists, their varied anatomies all displaying signs of excitement. Admiral Zextal stood at the front, his scales now permanently shifted to shades of anticipation and hope. The first joint Human Federation project will be establishing the new colonies, he announced as Chen and Santos entered. But equally important is the exchange of knowledge that Captain Chen proposed. The main screen displayed schematics from the Artemis database, agricultural systems designed to feed millions in space, medical techniques that could suspend life for centuries, energy technology that could power cities without destroying worlds. Your ancestors were remarkable, a Meridian scientist observed, crystal form refracting light in patterns of admiration. They faced extinction and responded with innovation rather than despair. They had no choice, Santos replied. Earth was dying. We had to preserve not just our people, but everything that made us human. Our knowledge, our culture, our hope for the future. And now that future includes us, Zextal added. Though I admit, I never expected first contact to involve being lectured by an ancient starship. Laughter rippled through the chamber, a sound that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. Fear was giving way to understanding, suspicion to curiosity. Chen activated her own display, showing the proposed colony sites. These systems are perfect for our needs, but I have a counter-proposal. The chamber quieted as she continued. Instead of separate human colonies, what if we built them together? Joint settlements, combining Federation and human technology, knowledge, and people. Ambitious, Venra's voice came through the calm. Some would say dangerously so. Everything worth doing has an element of danger, Chen replied. But look what we've already accomplished. Federation medical technology is helping our colonists wake safely. Our agricultural systems will help feed worlds across your space. Apart, we're powerful. Together, she smiled. Together, we could reach for things neither of us imagined possible. The chamber erupted in discussion, but Chen could see the idea taking hold. The Federation had encountered human innovation and determination, not as a threat, but as an opportunity. On the main screen, the Artemis floated serenely beside the Hyperion. Old and new, past and present, different approaches to the same goal. Survival through innovation, protection through preparation, and now, growth through cooperation. It won't be easy, Santos observed quietly. 300 years of human development meeting centuries of Federation tradition. The best things never are, Chen replied. She looked out at the assembled aliens and humans, all focused on building something new. But that's what makes them worth protecting. In the depths of space, more lights awakened aboard the Artemis. More colonists opened their eyes to a future they had never imagined, one where humanity had found not just survival, but partnership among the stars. The Federation had feared human ships because they didn't understand what drove their design. Now they knew. Every weapon was a shield, every system redundancy a promise to protect, every innovation a step toward a future worth building. Together, they would build that future. One colony, one exchange, one bridge between cultures at a time. The legacy of Earth, carried through centuries in ships like the Artemis, would finally fulfill its purpose. Not just to preserve humanity, but to help it thrive among new friends and allies in the endless sea of stars. It was, Chen reflected as she watched humans and aliens working side by side, exactly the kind of ending their ancestors had hoped for when they first reached for the stars, the beginning of something greater than they had ever dreamed possible.